Fox Sports lead college basketball analyst, also working with the website SeatGeek.com. It'll be Bill, Gus Johnson, Aaron Andrews calling tonight's Big East tournament semifinal. Begins at 6:30 on Fox Sports 1. And Raf joining us now. Billy, how are you?
I'm great, Dan. How you doing? You still got the hops?
Mad hops that, you never recruited me, and that's why I knew that you weren't a good college basketball coach because you didn't recruit me. Oh, no, that you would have been a better.
I know you were academically challenged. We're such a sophisticated program. I don't know if you would have fit in.
I remember
demanding for you.
I remember when I told you, I said, Digger Phelps recruited me. What's that say about Digger Phelps? And you go,
well, we all know what that says about Digger.
Best high school player you ever saw was who?
Ooh. It's got to be Lou Alcindor, I guess. Then you, of course.
Well,
Bobby Huggins wasn't bad, believe it or not. He claims that I recruited him and then called him and canceled the trip, and that the priest had me call him to send the ticket back so we could cash it back in. So that's his recruiting story. But he was pretty good, too.
Huggins, one of the top scorers in the history of Ohio basketball. I think he played for his dad. Does that sound right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
But did you know that Lou Alcindor was going to be the greatest scorer in history? The dominating player when you saw him at Power Memorial?
Well, what was interesting, in the old Garden then, we used to go, and he would be there as a guest of the Knicks. Not that it was illegal or legal in those days, but I guess they knew. But he had prime seats as high school coach Jack Donahue used to come in, and he was, I guess their first loss was against the Matha. And he was just so dominant offensively. I guess he would have to be the top guy. And then I guess Ewing for me, too. Summer camp kind of a thing, up at five-star camp.
Yeah.
I didn't see Jordan. And, of course, we always told Dean held him, the only guy to hold him under 20 points a game. We used to tease him about it.
Kenny Anderson was a legend in New York. Do you remember watching him play?
I do. He did play for Jack Curran at Archbishop Malloy, and he was amazing in the sense that he was like Isaiah, that he could go any place with the ball. Great handle and feel, and just dominated like Tiny Archibald in the lane, believe it or not.
I love Tiny Archibald. He went left every single time and still one year led the league in scoring and assist for one of the worst teams in the NBA, the Cincinnati Royals. Still one of the most remarkable stats ever.
Right, and then Kansas City, and nobody knew who he was except everybody in New York and people like you who really delve into these things. But his speed was something else, though. I mean, that's like these new rules, both NBA and college, where you can't put your hands on a guy. None of us would have been able to play. We'd hold on and hope the refs were friends of the family,
What do you remember about Pete Maravich?
Pete, well, I knew the dad because my coach, Judy Moore, and Press were from that Pittsburgh area. And so I just knew him as a kid. And Billy Packer used to talk about seeing him at camps in his grade school years, and just his phenomenal handle. He was a showman besides a player. Now, this sounds crazy. Seth Curry, when he makes a pass, has the same kind of flair. It's not mustard or anything. It's just like I don't know. They just have a little something extra in their game. Feel for it, confidence too. I think Seth is a better shooter than I think he was more of a volume guy, much like most of us. And of course, he had his dad telling everybody else, "You four guys, just show up with a uniform on and make sure Pete gets the ball."
But imagine if he had the 3-point shot. And
right.
I remember. Let's see. I was told that he would average probably close to 55 a game when he was in college. If they had this college basketball 3-point shot.
Well, Doug McDermott, as you know, just hit 3,000, and a very humble kid. And when he passed Bird in the interview, the first thing he said was that if Larry Bird had a 3-point shot, I would never catch him. And I think you're right on the money with Pete. He had unbelievable range and, skinny little body that took hits and, just terrific with the Hawks particularly. I remember his flair for everything. And then late in his career, Red tried to get him a ring up in Boston. But a combination of great talent and showmanship, I think.
He's Bill Raftery, Fox Sports college basketball analyst, trying to handicap these players and how they can help teams with the NBA, Billy. I look at McDermott, and, he's been there 4 years. I don't think he's a difference maker, a franchise changer, but Jabari Parker, Wiggins out of Kansas, is there somebody who's worth tanking for, in your opinion?
That story of my life. I accuse my team of doing that. They're just trying to get rid of me. I would say Jabari Parker would be more ready in terms of the first five. Although Wiggins, I didn't see a whole lot. I just saw highlights last night. But, it depends on where he is on the floor. I know he's playing more of the power spot now, with Embiid out. So, he's a very. It's interesting with the McDermott kid. Wally Serbiak, we did a show together early in the week, and he compares himself humbly, of course, to his game, and he thought he would be a top 10 pick because the kid does things quickly. And a couple of weeks ago, I did Mike Krzyzewski's show on radio show, and I said, Mike, how did he do with the pros? Mike had them all in Vegas. And he said the pros love playing with him because he makes quick decisions. He doesn't need the ball. And obviously when he's free, he makes shots. So, and he's got good size too. So, I'm sort of changing my opinion. I was hoping he'd be late. I shouldn't say late, but 15 to 20 as we go with a good team who wouldn't have to carry the franchise like Danny Furry did in Cleveland. Puts a lot of pressure on a kid. And you're playing against men who are fighting and competing for jobs. So, you just can't do it alone in the league.
We grew up in a time when you did have dominance. You had dynasties. You had Kentucky or you had UCLA. You had teams that were there, North Carolina, Duke. Now we do have parity. I don't know if you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I wasn't surprised Villanova lost to Seton Hall yesterday. What's that? And that's the number 3 ranked team in the country. What's that say about college basketball?
Right. I'm very offended you include Seton Hall in that array of great teams. But nevertheless, I think you're right on, though. I felt all during the course of the year, every time I did a game of anybody of national acclaim, I thought Arizona could win it early. The way they were playing. I thought Michigan State, when I saw them. Kentucky actually early played Providence and looked pretty good. They looked like they had things going. They had Florida about 10 days ago, and they're on top of their game. So I think it varies as you go around and who's playing well. And it is almost comparable to what Jimmy Calhoun did at UConn. Somebody getting pretty hot late, like in their conference tournament, and all of a sudden there's a great feel amongst these kids that are pulling for one another, making that extra pass or trusting one another defensively. So Villanova losing, they had played Seton Hall, and Seton Hall played them well a couple of times. So the evenness of it is a matter of maybe a couple of plays or kids making plays late in games and winning them late. So I think it's going to be, and I don't, who knows, but I think the NCAA, we will probably have more overtime games, and I don't know what the number is yet in the NCAA because of that.
What does it take for somebody to be described as having onions? Onions!
Well, I think both of us would fit, despite our inability. We've survived. I just think it's kids. It just a sidelight. Kevin Edwards is on the bench for DePaul, former player there, played in the league. And Ian Eagle, who we did the Nets games for 8 years, he claims I said it when the Nets didn't win often, and they beat Miami on the buzzer on a Kevin Edwards jump shot, and it just, having nothing in there, I blurted it out. And I guess it's just a nice, polite way of saying the guy reaches inside and does all the great things, or it describes the things you're thinking that you can't say on the air maybe about a kid.
But we're talking about anatomy here when you're saying somebody's got onions.
Well, I mean...
Or do they make you cry? Give me the true definition of onions. Is it the actual onion makes you cry, or you got balls, stones?
Well, you said it. You can go either way with this thing, and it's your show, so whichever you opt for, I'll go with. But it's just a toughness, I think. And
but you give us a double order. Onions, double order?
Ronald Moore, Sienna against Ohio State. Ad Mata hasn't slept since. That kid, but that is really onions. That would make it would make you cry if you were on the other bench, and obviously it shows what you have inside you if you make the winner like he did.
Hey, great to visit with you. Tell Gus and Aaron we said hello, and we'll be watching.
Okay, be good, and thanks for having us on for SeatGeek, and hopefully people will use the service. You're the best, kid.
All right, Bill Raftery. Website is SeatGeek.com for tickets. Go there. What a good dude.